All right, we did it. We beat the Baltimore Ravens 18-16. Um, I gotta say, I want to see the national media on all these morning shows don't move the goalpost again. So basically, what I mean by that is, when coming into the season, we knew the beginning part was going to be easier than the second half. Like, we knew that. And everyone believed it starts with Baltimore. Like, that's the first one. Well, turns out Washington's not a bad team this year. So it was, Washington, what were they, 7-2 when we faced them? They're 7-2. They're a good team. It starts with Washington. Okay, we beat Washington. Well, it really doesn't start until Baltimore. We gotta see you beat them. Wait, what? You just said Washington was a good team. Yeah, but we don't really think Steelers are contenders. You gotta face Baltimore. Wait, but you said so, and that's just kind of how I felt about it. And maybe I read it wrong. Like maybe I got the wrong impression there. But it really felt like they said Washington was the big test and then didn't give us credit for beating them. Like, no, we beat them. Now, the spot on that fourth down that they tried, it was a bad spot. He was not a yard short. Like, clearly, he was not a yard short. I personally don't think he got it. Now, he may have been that short, but I think he was short. Now, whether that was after he caught it, if they want to count the turn as like a football move and you lose your forward progress, and then that's when he was touched, maybe. Maybe that's the argument there. I don't think that really made a difference. And the thing is with, like, it's always come back to the ball. Don't wait for the ball, come back to it. Because if you wait for the ball, the defender can try to intercept it. They can try to bat it down. They can hit you a little sooner. So come back to the ball, if you're moving away from the defender. And that's what Zach Ertz did. He came back for the ball, which I think is what ultimately hurt him. So then it was, okay, Baltimore's the test. Okay, we won. We didn't score a single offensive touchdown, actually any touchdowns at all, but we won. So I'm just gonna go over it a little bit, and I hope that when I see stuff from people in the national media reacting to the game, that it's not, okay, but go do it in Baltimore. Okay, go beat Philly. Go beat Cincy. Go beat Kansas City. I really hope it's not that. So, let's go over this game. So this was your classic Steelers-Ravens game where guys are getting penalties for unsportsmanlike conduct. Like, literally, I think 4 guys, 2 from each team, had unsportsmanlike penalties, which put them halfway to disqualification. You're allowed 2. Once you get 2, or actually, I should even say you're allowed 2. You're allowed 1. Once you get to 2, you're thrown out of the game. So it's not even allowed 2. If you get a second one, you're out. You get ejected. So, or disqualified, whatever you want to say. And let me think. It was Broderick Jones. It was Marlon Humphrey, Minkah Fitzpatrick, and one of their offensive linemen, number 65. I don't know his name. So they all had unsportsmanlikes. And I'm watching this, and I'm like, they gotta calm Broderick down because it was yapping and yapping and yapping and yapping, and I'm like, you got to calm him down. And it was the same thing with Marlon Humphrey. If the Ravens don't want to lose him for the game, they need to calm him down. Because if you don't, he's going to get disqualified. He's going to keep talking. He's going to keep talking. He's going to keep talking. And eventually, he's going to get his second unsportsmanlike. But that's Steelers Ravens. Think about back in the day with Lewis and Ed Reed and Suggs. You had Hines Ward, Ben Roethlisberger, James Harrison, Troy Polamalu. Troy didn't really talk that much, but Ryan Clark. Like, you had some big name guys in these matchups. And, if you go even a little further, you had Joey Porter Sr. So this is really a gritty matchup. And the fact Lamar is 1-4 against Pittsburgh now as a starter is shocking. It really is. I want to see if I can find a tweet quick as well. Because I think I had it. Give me just a moment here. I think I liked it. Maybe I didn't. Did I retweet it? No. No, I did not. It said something about how the Ravens had their lowest had like the lowest these stats of the entire season. It was like 3 different stats, offensive stats of the entire season. Whether it was like yards per play or whatever it was. But like, and that's the thing is, I didn't expect the Steelers defense to do this well. I thought each team could probably hit 20. Now, if the Ravens had kicked their 2 field goals that they missed, if they had made them, and you then don't go for 2 and you just kick the extra point, that's 5 extra points? 7 extra points on top of the 16. So that right there, you're 23. And then you have to try to force Pittsburgh at some point to score a touchdown. Instead of just, 6 field goals. And they had the potential for a 7th, but Russ threw the interception in the end zone. If they don't throw that, they probably kick a field goal. And, maybe they go for it, but they probably would have kicked a field goal, which would have been 7 field goals in a single game, which would have put them at 21. So, both teams really did have the potential to hit 20. But this is Steelers-Ravens. So I'm going to get into the stats a little bit. Lamar was just under 50% completion, much like Jayden Daniels. Jayden Daniels was exactly 50%. By the way, I also was watching stuff during the week, and it's like, yeah, Russell only completed 50% of his passes. He was 14-28. Well, what was Jayden Daniels? 17-34. So, 50%. Yep. For a little more yards than Russ, but not, excessively more. Yep. Okay. And he had less rushing yards than Russ, because I think Russ had 6 last week, and Jayden had 5. It's like, yep. Okay. And he didn't score any touchdowns. Nope. On the ground or in the air. Nope. It's like, okay. Yeah, but talk about how Russ didn't play well. So Lamar, he was 16-33. Like I said, that's just under 50%. For 207, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. That's very similar to what Jayden did. I don't think Jayden threw a pick, though, and he didn't score any touchdowns. But that's actually, 16-33, 17-34 for a little over 200. That's literally the same stat line, minus the pick and touchdown. Derrick Henry had 13 for 65. That's 5 yards per carry for a touchdown as well. The best receiver they had was Isaiah Likely. By the way, Lamar rushed 4 times for 46. So he did break for a couple of runs. There was one I thought he was going to bolt on the run, and he didn't. He threw it, and it ended up being incomplete. He had 4 for 46, so he definitely got running a lot more than Jaden did. Isaiah Likely, 4 for 75, receiving. Zay Flowers, 2 for 39. Rashad Bateman, 2 for 30. Justice Hill, 4 for 28. Mark Andrews, 2 for 22. And then that's about it. Tylen Wallace and Patrick Ricard each caught a pass, but that wasn't too significant. So, you're talking an average yards per reception of 18.8, 19.5, 15, 7, 11. And then 8 and 5 for Wallace and Ricard. So, for a lot of it, it was like big plays, Zay Flowers also got the touchdown. Defensively, Marlon Humphrey was the one that got the interception in the end zone. I'm not really going to go through tackles that much. Kyle Hamilton got 10 total. Rokon before leaving, 13 total. Adarius Washington, 11. Malik Harrison, 9. Adafe Owe, 5. Brandon Stevens, 5. Marlon Humphrey, 3. I'm not going to keep going. Sacks, Odafe Owe, 2.5. Brandon Stevens, 0.5. Broderick Washington, 1. And I think that was it. So he got sacked 4 times today, Russ did. Kick returns, punt returns, I'm not too concerned with. So that was the Ravens player stats. I'll go into team stats as well. Russell Wilson, 23 of 36. So I was more than 50. That's probably what. I'm going to take a guess. I'm going to do it on my phone here. But I'm going to guess 23 of 36. That's probably about, maybe what, 55%? Oh, I'm way off. 63.8%. Actually, it's 8 repeating. How am I that far off? I was thinking maybe 55, 60% at the highest, but no, he actually completed basically about 64% of his passes, because you're going to say 63.9, rounding up, if you only do a tenth, if you only go one digit past the decimal point. And then at that point, you're 63.9, you're just going to say 64%. For 205 and an interception, no touchdowns. Najee, 18 for 63. Jalen, 9 for 41. Justin, man, I wish he'd just one more yard, dude. Just give me one more yard before you slide. No one scored a touchdown, obviously. And then receiving, George Pickens, 8 for 89. Darnell Washington, 2 for 42. Najee Harris, 4 for 30. Jaylen Warren, 4 for 27. Pat Freiermuth, 2 for 14. And I'm done. There was other guys, but I'm not going to really go into that because they really didn't contribute much. So, average yards per catch, 11.1, 21, 7.5, 6.8, 7. So again, a couple of guys had bigger plays, like Darnell Washington. And then let's see. Defensively, Peyton Wilson got the interception. TJ Watt got a sack. Dean Lowry got a sack. That was it. So he got sacked twice. As far as tackles are concerned, Minka had 7 total. Patrick Queen 10. TJ Watt 3. Cam Hayward 4. Peyton Wilson 2. Beanie 2. Keanu 3 before he left injured. Nick Herbig 2. Deshaun Elliott 2. Larry Ogunjobi 5. Orlando Roberts 3. Devontae Casey 2. Other guys who got 1 total or none, I'm not going to read off. And then we go to team stats. So total yardage was in the Ravens' favor at 329 to 303. Passing yards, 205 to the Steelers' 181, which I don't really understand that. Maybe it took sack yardage into account, but even then the Ravens had 207 passing and 205. So did they literally only lose a yard on each sack? Um, whereas Russ, who got sacked 4 times, went from 205 to 181. Because no one else threw it for either team. So that must be what that is. So 181. Rushing yards 124 to 122. So rushing yards were virtually the same. It's a 2-yard difference. That really doesn't mean much. Yards per play 6.1 for the Ravens and 4.1 for the Steelers. So that's another 2 yards a play. That's pretty significant. So really, all of those went in the Ravens' favor as far as yards and yards per play. This is where some of it went Pittsburgh's way. First downs, 18 to 16 in favor of Pittsburgh. Third down efficiency, though, went to the Ravens, 4 of 11, compared to the Steelers, 4 of 16. So you're basically a little over 33%, maybe 35, 36, 37% for the Ravens, whereas you're 25% for Pittsburgh. Ravens never went for it on fourth down. Steelers did once, which I did not like the decision. I wanted to punt. Or if you were going to, and I think they passed. And I'm like, if you're going to go for it, run the ball. Steelers ran 20 more plays than the Baltimore Ravens did. The Ravens got 4 sacks to the Steelers 2. They each punted 4 times. The penalties, Ravens were heavily penalized in this game. 12 for 80, and Steelers got 7 for 45. Ravens lost 2 fumbles, and they each threw a pick. This was the big one, and this really contributed to the win. Time of possession. The Steelers had the ball for 36 minutes and 22 seconds to the Ravens 23 minutes and 38 seconds. So that was a big part of it, is that, the Ravens just didn't have the ball a whole ton. And that's also shown by the total number of plays. Steelers ran 20 more plays. They played keep away from Lamar Jackson, which is what you need to do when you face these quarterbacks, these high-level quarterbacks. You don't want them on the field, whether it's Burrow, Lamar, Mahomes, Allen, any of these guys. Keep them off the field. Lamar and all these other guys can't score touchdowns if they don't have the ball. Like, obviously that's it's like, well, duh. But that's just kind of how it is. Let's see. Oh, Dobbins is finally doing something. Just checking fantasy again. So, yeah, so the Steelers definitely won a hard-fought game, which, again, I've said many times, these typically are hard-fought games. There was a stat someone was talking about. It was either like the last 7 or 7 to last 8. It was an insane amount of games. But between the Steelers and the Ravens, it was settled by 7 points or less. Like, these are always 1-score games. Pretty much always. And like I said, if it was the last 7 or if it was 7 out of the last 8, whatever it was, these games are close. They just are. And I did find it interesting, and this is kind of like the last thing I'll talk about before I end the video, is that I think the Ravens opened as 2.5-point favorites. Which, like, even in Pittsburgh. So that means, like, to go to Baltimore, I think they would have been, like, 8.5-point favorites. Because usually you get a field goal for home field advantage. So basically 2.5, take away home field, now that's 5.5, and then you put it in Baltimore, that's 8.5. So basically they would have been like 8.5-point favorites, which is insane to me because of the fact that these are always close. And not only did they start as 2.5-point favorites, the line moved to 3. And then it moved to 3.5. Essentially saying, like, the Ravens that's what the money was telling you, is that the Ravens on their turf would be like 9.5 to 10 point favorites. Basically, they could win by 10 points if the game was in Baltimore, which I don't think so because these are always like one score games. So that was just something that surprised me, is that people really thought the Ravens were not only going to win, but that they kept betting the Ravens. It'd be one thing if, it's like, okay, 2.5, and maybe they win by 3, and it's like, okay, now it's 3. It's like, oh, okay, maybe you bet Pittsburgh or whatever you do. But basically, people were thinking Baltimore was going to win by a few points. Now, granted, it's 16-18, right? Think about this. Tucker, like I talked about, Tucker makes those 2 field goals, even if the Ravens don't still go for 2 for some reason. That's 22. That's a 4-point game right there. And if you add that, then it's 5. So, obviously the bettors aren't going to know Justin Tucker misses 2 field goals. But, yeah, that was just something that was surprising to me. But even then, if they make the field goals and then kick the extra point instead of going for 2, that's 5. That's still within the 7 points. It's just this game is always, always, always close. And I look forward to the next matchup. It'll be in Baltimore. And we can, watch the 2 teams go to battle again. So, if you guys did enjoy this, please do leave a like. And if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button, turn notifications on. I'll see all you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.